You walk into a room and, before you've said a single word, part of your brain is already scanning faces, calculating what everyone thinks of you. You rehearse a text message 5 times before sending it. You avoid wearing the thing you actually like because someone might judge it. You stay quiet in a meeting because your idea might sound stupid. You have built an entire second life inside your head, one where you are constantly performing for an audience that, most of the time, isn't even paying attention. This isn't a personality flaw. It's a wiring issue, and it's one of the oldest problems philosophy has tried to solve. For most of human history, being disliked by your tribe could get you exiled, and exile could get you killed. So your brain learned, deep in its ancient circuitry, that social approval equals survival. That circuitry never got the memo that you're no longer at risk of being left to die in the wilderness because a coworker raised an eyebrow at your idea. You're still running that same threat detection, except now it fires over comment sections, group chats, and passing glances from strangers who will forget you within the hour. The philosophers who actually broke free of this obsession with approval weren't people who stopped caring about others entirely. They were people who understood exactly what other people's opinions were worth, and adjusted their behavior accordingly. That distinction matters, because not caring what people think isn't the same as not caring about people. One is freedom. The other is just a different kind of prison. Start with the Stoics, because they attacked this problem more directly than almost anyone else in history. Epictetus said that other people's opinions of you are not up to you, full stop. You don't control what someone thinks when they look at you, what they whisper about you, whether they approve of your choices. You only control your own actions, your own effort, your own character. And yet you spend enormous energy trying to manage something you were never given control over in the first place, like trying to steer a car from the passenger seat. Think about how much of your day actually goes toward managing other people's perception of you. The careful wording, the second-guessing, the performance you put on before you even walk out the door. Epictetus would tell you, calmly, that you've handed the steering wheel of your own life to strangers, most of whom aren't even thinking about you as much as you assume they are. That last part is worth sitting with, because it's not just philosophy, it's basic psychology. There's a well-documented effect where you drastically overestimate how much other people notice and remember about you. You replay an awkward moment for days. The other person forgot it within the hour, because they were busy running the exact same anxious loop about themselves. Everyone is the main character of their own movie, which means you are almost always a background extra in everyone else's, no matter how loudly your own mind insists otherwise. Marcus Aurelius, despite ruling an empire where his every move was scrutinized by senators, soldiers, and citizens, wrote to himself constantly about this exact trap. He asked why he should let the opinion of people he doesn't even respect control how he feels about himself. He pointed out something almost embarrassingly simple. You don't actually admire most of the people whose judgment you're afraid of. You don't organize your life around the opinions of people you deeply respect and trust. You organize it around vague, faceless judgment from people you'd never ask for real advice. That's the trap. You're not even seeking approval from people whose approval would mean something. You're seeking it from an imagined audience that has no stake in your life at all. Nietzsche took this even further, and in a much more aggressive direction. He argued that most people build their entire morality around what he called herd thinking, absorbing values not because they examined them and found them true, but because deviating from the herd feels dangerous. He wanted you to ask a harder question than the Stoics did. Not just, is this opinion outside my control, but, do I even actually believe the standard I'm terrified of violating, or did I just inherit it because everyone around me seemed to accept it? Nietzsche's whole idea of becoming who you are depends on this kind of brutal self-honesty, separating what you genuinely value from what you're just afraid to be caught not valuing. This is uncomfortable, because it means some of your fear of judgment isn't really about other people at all. It's about a standard you never chose being enforced by a jury you never appointed. You're afraid of breaking a rule you might not even agree with, if you stop to actually examine it. Taoism approaches the same problem from a completely different angle, through the idea of wu wei, or effortless action. Lao Tzu taught that trying too hard to control how you're perceived actually makes you more awkward, not less. Think about the people you know who seem effortlessly comfortable in their own skin. They're rarely the ones performing the hardest. They're the ones who stopped performing altogether. The Tao Te Ching suggests that the more you force an image, the more resistance and tension you create, both in yourself and in how others read you. People can sense strain. Confidence isn't the absence of feeling nervous, it's the absence of contorting yourself to manage someone else's opinion in real time. Now, none of this means you should become indifferent to how you treat people, or start using "I don't care what anyone thinks" as an excuse to be careless or cruel. That's a common misreading, and it misses the entire point. The Stoics were deeply concerned with virtue, with treating others fairly and acting with integrity. Nietzsche cared enormously about living authentically and creating meaning. Not caring what people think was never about becoming numb to others. It was about correctly sorting whose judgment is actually worth weighing, and refusing to hand your peace of mind to everyone else by default. Here's a practical way to sort it. Ask yourself, about any specific person whose opinion you're currently worried about, 2 questions. Do I deeply respect this person's judgment in this particular area of life? And does this person actually know me well enough to be judging accurately? If the answer to both is yes, that opinion is worth genuinely considering, maybe even worth adjusting your behavior for. If the answer to either is no, you are giving free rent in your mind to someone who hasn't earned it, and you're allowed to evict them. Most of the judgment you fear comes from Category 2. A stranger's assumption. A distant acquaintance's passing comment. An imagined reaction from someone who probably wasn't even paying attention. You've been treating all judgment as equally weighted, when in reality almost none of it deserves the space you're giving it. There's also a physical practice worth trying, something almost embarrassingly small but surprisingly effective. Next time you feel that flash of self-consciousness, the urge to shrink, apologize, or over-explain yourself, pause and ask out loud, even just in your head, would I actually remember this about someone else a week from now? You almost never would. You'd forget the outfit, the stumble over words, the imperfect answer in the meeting. If you wouldn't remember it about someone else, there's no logical reason to assume everyone else is cataloging it about you. Marcus Aurelius had a specific mental exercise for this too. He would imagine himself from a distance, the way you'd view a stranger, and ask whether this moment would actually matter in a year, in 10 years, after his life had ended entirely. Almost everything you're currently anxious about, in the harsh light of that wider view, becomes almost comically small. This isn't meant to make your life feel meaningless. It's meant to correctly resize the things that don't deserve the weight you're giving them, so you have more room left for the things that do. You've spent years auditioning for an audience that was never actually watching that closely, following rules you never consciously chose, flinching at judgment from people whose opinion you don't even respect. The goal was never to stop caring completely. It was to stop caring indiscriminately, giving your energy to strangers' fleeting glances instead of to the handful of people and values that actually deserve your attention. Start today with something small. The next time you feel that pull to shrink yourself, ask whether the person you're afraid of judging you would even remember this moment tomorrow. Ask whether you actually respect their judgment in the first place. And if the answer is no, let it go, not because you've stopped caring about people, but because you've finally started caring about the right ones.